Hi everyone, this is Terri Pace. I'm a holistic health coach and I've been using essential oils for nearly 10 years now. And I just want to start out by expressing my gratitude for the opportunity to share my knowledge and my experiences with you today as part of this mental hygiene initiative for Suffolk County employees. During today's workshop, we're going to explore the daily habits you can do to manage your pain naturally. I'll share some simple routines and some of my favorite essential oils for supporting less pain and more comfort, right? So I'm not really sure where your understanding of essential oils is. So we're going to start with just a very brief overview of what is an essential oil and what are their health benefits. So an essential oil is distilled from plants, right? The leaves, the flowers, the berries, the bark, all the different parts of the plant. And they're naturally occurring. They're volatile aromatic compounds, right? It's nature's chemistry, right? And it has a smell, right? And so that essential oil is produced by the plant for a reason. It's part of its defensive or recovery mechanisms, like protecting it from environmental threats or to help it recover from microbial or fungal attacks. It's also part of its communication mechanism, right? It can attract pollinators or repel pests. And so those three reasons, protection from environmental threats, improved communication, and for humans, I'm talking about intercellular communication, and number three, to heal or repair damaged cells. So that's why we would want to use an essential oil. There are really simple ways to use it, right? Aromatically is the first way. Like it's the first thing that you notice about an essential oil is it has a smell, right? It has aroma. And so all we need to do is breathe it in, and we can open our airways. We can, put it in a diffuser and help us cleanse the air around us, right? And when it's in a diffuser, the whole office or your family, right? Everyone in the room actually benefits from just breathing in that essential oil. I also love diffusing when I want to change the mood of a room. We'll learn a little bit more about that as we go. The second way is very simple. Just apply it topically where you want to impact your body. So if you have some tension in your head or your neck, you're just going to apply it right on those areas. Maybe you have a tummy ache or you have back pain. You're just going to apply the oil directly to that spot. You can also take essential oils internally. I mean, after all, it's food in another form, right? You can put it in water, in a veggie cap, or just simply drop it under your tongue. Now, not all essential oils are created equal, and so you're going to want to make sure that your essential oil bottle has this supplement facts label, right? That means that it's rated by the FDA for internal use, right? And when we're using a high quality therapeutic grade essential oil, within 22 seconds, they find the chemistry of that essential oil influencing the brain chemistry. In 2 minutes, they find it in your bloodstream, and in 22 seconds, it's in every cell of your body. And so when you are using an essential oil for pain, fast is good, right? So this is just a quick cross-section of a blood sample, right? And so on the left, you see the before, right? The blood cells are kind of clumped together, as a live video. They're not moving. They're very sluggish and they're misshapen, right? And what they did was they put an essential oil on the bottom of this person's foot, and then 30 seconds later took another blood sample. And this is what it looked like, right? On the left, we see what free radical damage can do to our cells. And on the right, we can see just how quickly antioxidant-based essential oils can influence the activity of a cell, right? The cell is round and it's moving with energy, and it's just, very dramatic change and 30 seconds later, right? So, you know, with that, let's just start with a little conversation about, well, what causes pain? I think it's important to understand what is pain, right? And so we have acute pain, right? It's a one-time trigger. The body responds immediately to that trigger by moving, you know, plasma and leukocytes, which are your first responders, into the compromised tissue, right? Leukocytes are like white blood cells that work with your immune system to defend against infectious disease, right? It's your natural defense system, right? You know, these leukocytes can be triggered if you have foreign material that comes into the body, but also when we have some kind of acute injury. One of the examples is physical training, right? If you're working out at the gym, cold, if you have a sore throat, maybe an ingrown toenail, maybe you just have a cut on your, you know, body somewhere, right? This is all gonna initiate those first responders to go to the area, right? We also have chronic pain, right? It's because, you know, the acute pain, right? The initial cause of that acute inflammation, we were unable to repair it, right? And so now we have this ongoing pain, right? And it could be mild or it could be intense, right? And examples are, you know, arthritis or chronic conditions, asthma, and any kind of uncontrolled inflammation, right? Our goal is to have healthy inflammatory response. It must be regulated, otherwise we have this concurrent repair and destruction of the tissue that's constantly going on, right? We also have, you know, something called somatic, or, you know, this is kind of like pain that comes from a strain, or you know, it's nociceptive pain that includes like your skin, the tissue, the muscles, right? It's your nerves that are detecting that it's in the skin, right? You also have visceral pain. Visceral pain, it occurs when it's deeper in the body, in the cavities, when you have cramping. Sometimes this is pain that we experience related to like internal organs or tissues that are damaged, right? Perhaps like after surgery, right? That type of pain feels very different. It feels like this deep squeezing or very pressure, like you're kind of achy. So you have two different types of pain that you feel. And then, you know, we also have, you know, how do we feel it? So neuropathic pain is pain that's caused by some kind of damage to the nervous system, right? The sensory system of our nerves, right? Like maybe like phantom limb or neuropathy, right? You kind of have this pain that's related to how the nerves are experiencing the situation. We also have sympathetic pain, which is like, you know, just like soft tissue injury, right? It does affect the nervous system, but it's more regional, right? And, you know, like an example would be if you fractured a bone, right? We also have referred pain. It's when you have pain that's felt in an area other than where the original site of the injury is. It's kind of when someone who might be having a heart attack experiences pain in their arm, right? So, you know, no matter what type of pain it is, it's very disruptive. And so we have nearly 1/3 of every American that deals with some kind of pain every single year. And we have over 100 million Americans that have some form of chronic pain, right? There are many, many impacts of this, right? You have increased healthcare costs, right? There, especially as we relate it to work or productivity, right? It lowers our productivity, right? We could have missed days of work. You know, that means, you know, if you're not getting paid for your sick time, maybe you're out of sick time, you know, then now it's gonna start hitting you in the pocketbook. And you're just dealing with pain each and every day becomes a huge quality of life issues. Like I think of, well, what are all the things that I can no longer do because the pain is getting in the way, right? Especially when we're talking about chronic pain. This is a fact of life for many people, right? Maybe you can't, enjoy the hobbies that you used to enjoy, like, bike riding or, taking a long walk or climbing or boating or whatever it is. One of the biggest impacts that I have seen is, drug misuse or even abuse, right? So, we have very common painkillers that, Oxycontin, Vicodin, and methadone, right? And so I found some statistics. In 2017, healthcare providers wrote almost 191 million prescriptions. It's a rate of 58.7 prescriptions for every 100 people. Like that's an enormous percentage of people that are, taking prescriptions for opiates, right? Not even other ones, opiates. And despite all the guidelines, right, primary care clinicians write 45% of all the opiate prescriptions in the United States. So it's not even specialists. These are just primary care providers that are just prescribing pain meds, opioid, right? We have almost 11 million people that misused an opioid prescription in 2017, that there's almost 1,000 people a day being treated in the ER for opioid misuse, right? We also have prescription opioids involved in almost 35% of the overdose deaths due to opiates, right? And so a third of them came from a prescription that you got from a doctor, not from some street corner where you're buying and selling something, right? Right? But the economic burden, right, of chronic pain is estimated at $635 billion. That's a lot of money, right? And we have lots of side effects, right? You have dizziness, physical dependence, sensitivity on your skin. Sometimes it can make you constipated or nauseous, right? Maybe you have dry mouth or sleeplessness, depression, low testosterone, itching and sweating, so there's a tons of things that happen besides that. And so we have not so good effects overall at a very steep cost, both financially and in our quality of life and in our productivity at work and at home, right? And so I do think that we really need to do something about that. And so that's why I'm here to talk to you today about what you can do naturally, right? So, I love using essential oils because the mission is to bring back plant-based medicine, right? And so I want to give you a quick example of how kind of this got out of control. And so Hippocrates, he was a Greek physician. He lived about 460 to 377 BC, right? He wrote, like in his writings, you can see that the willow leaves and the bark of the willow tree relieved pain and fevers, right? And so over the years, the bark from the willow tree was used as a pain reliever and an antipyretic, right? Really good to help with that, for most people. Like this before you had a pharmacy or a doctor who could prescribe drugs, right? So it turns out that the bark contains something called salicin, right? And this is pain relieving, and it also has flavonoids. Flavonoids are a plant-based, powerful anti-inflammatory, right? And so we have these two compounds that are in the willow bark, and many of the tree oils, right? Many of the oils made from trees have this, same ability to be pain relieving and provide for a better inflammatory response in our body. Okay, so what did modern medicine do, right? The story involves an Oxford clergyman, a scientist at a German dye manufacturer, a Nobel Prize winning discovery, and like series of pivotal clinical trials. But the long and short of it is salicin is a chemical that's similar to acetylsalicylic acid, which is in aspirin, right? So the aspirin we know came to be in the late 1890s in the form of this acetylsalicylic acid. That's kind of like a tongue twister. It was a chemist, Felix Hoffmann. Well, he worked for Bayer in Germany, and he was using it to relieve his father's rheumatism, right? And so by the late 1890s, I think 1899, this started being distributed as a powder that physicians could give to their patients, right? And so, this is just one example of how modern medicine solved an issue, and then somehow it became a laboratory project and a synthesized they took the natural chemistry and then synthesized it. And so I just wondered, I'm like, why would they do that? And that's because you can't patent a plant, right? Like, so, they want the money. They want to create this synthetically. And in that synthetic creation, we start to have all these kind of side effects and issues because it isn't nature's chemistry anymore. And that leads to one problem after another, right? And so I love that the mission of the company that I work with, doTERRA, right? The founders decided not to synthesize, adulterate, or dilute nature's chemistry anymore, right? They source it in a way that provides therapeutic results reliably, right? Reliable therapeutic results. And I am, I can't tell you how many stories I've had, you'll hear a few of them today, that, it does work. It does work. And so what I'm going to share with you is some of the things that I use. Now, I had a bowel resection and had 2 major abdominal surgeries in the last 2 years. And I did not use narcotics at all. And so what you're going to see here is some of the solutions that I created or that I got from other people like me who love using natural solutions, and we just try to find solutions that work, right? What was effective for you? And we have this community of people, we share all these recipes. And so this is my first one. It's called Pain, Go Away, right? So these 4 essential oils, copaiba, frankincense, marjoram, and lemongrass, right? So if you notice, copaiba, frankincense, and marjoram, they're amazing. They have amazing properties for promoting a healthy inflammatory response, right? And so you can mix these into a veggie cap and take them, right? I was taking at least one every 3 times a day, like morning, afternoon, evening. And then I put it in a roller bottle and I would rub it on topically in between when, I was having, isolated instances where my pain was increasing, right? And so this was so effective. And so you're going to apply it directly to the area, right? If you're doing it topically, and you can do it every 30 minutes if you have to. When you're experiencing severe pain, right, or that it could be severe, right? We want to get it before it gets to that point, because once it gets, once it breaks through, it's so hard to walk it back. And so the key is to put a little bit on all throughout the day so that it doesn't burst through. Because once it bursts through, there's very little you can do to really back it off quickly. You have to, just wait for it to subside. And so my routine was to take the capsule 3 times a day and then use it topically as needed in between. Like when I started to feel that it was, kind of punching through, I would just apply it. And if I needed to do it every 30 to 60 minutes, I was doing it. And I was able to heal without significant pain. We also have people who experience that nerve pain that we were talking about, right? And so this is a blend of cedarwood, copaiba, eucalyptus, lavender, and marjoram, right? And so this is really good for helping to alleviate some of the pain that comes from an overactive nerve, right? And, I think the key is, again, applying it topically. And even on days when maybe your pain isn't so high, right? One of the keys is to continue to apply it daily. If you know that this is a chronic issue for you and you're just having a good day, well, I would just keep applying it every day, right? Because, we're promoting circulation to the area. We're promoting the removal of some of the damaged tissue, which is causing some of that inflammation. And so we're doing things even on days when it's not painful. We still are doing some cleanup work. And so I invite you to continue to do it every single day. Another one I call, oh, my aching back. This is a great one, right? We have, people who experience, I had a car accident, and I have a handicapped son who's in a wheelchair. And so lifting my son in and out of that wheelchair, compounded the pain that I felt, from the car accident. And so there were just some things that I did every single day to help me be able to function, right? Because, not lifting my son out of that wheelchair was not an option, right? There were days that I really just had to figure out how to do it. And so, strengthening the core, right? If you have back issues, strengthening your core muscles is important to give stability to your skeletal structure, but using essential oils that help that nociceptive pain, right? The pain in the soft tissue, the muscles, and the skin tissue is sometimes what drives our pain, right? I also love, let's say you just have some muscle spasms, right? I use lime, marjoram. Marjoram is really actually great for any kind of spasmodic stuff. There's a blend that's called Aroma Touch that I really love. And then some of my super favorites, right, for any kind of pain. Right? I love Deep Blue. Deep Blue is available in many different formats, as is the Copaiba, right? So you can get it in the oil form to apply topically or put under your tongue. Or if you want, you could just get these little soft gels, so it makes it easy to pop a drop. I also have an amazing turmeric supplement, right? And so there's a lot of science behind this particular supplement, right? We have curcuminoids and we have turmeric oil, and they both have different benefits. And the curcuminoids have amazing benefits to promote a healthy inflammatory response. I mean, I think if you Google turmeric, you'd see that it has a lot of these good properties for a healthy inflammatory response. But the problem is we have difficulty absorbing it. And so this particular turmeric is combined with the turmerones, which is a chemistry that comes from the turmeric essential oil, and it makes it easier for your body to absorb it. And so it takes away the challenge of really getting the benefits of a turmeric supplement. And so this was a game changer for me. So I invite you to try it. Okay, what else? So it's really important for me to just talk briefly about how supplementation is critical to have cells and tissues that are nourished, right? It's when a cell that's not nourished starts to get cranky. And, I talk about pain and discomfort as being a way that your body gets your attention, right? And so like a light on a dashboard, it just brings your attention to the fact that, hey, let's look under the hood and see what's going on, right? And so when we use something that just silences the light on the dashboard, right, the symptom or the pain that's trying to get your attention, we're not actually fixing the underlying problem. And so when you have long-term issues, we need to address it in a different way, right? We need to go and we need to nourish the cell. We need to help it. We have to, kind of I guess the best way to say it is we need to create a terrain for healing, right? Inflammation isn't an infection. It's not bad. It's something that happens naturally as part of our living and breathing. It's just when it gets out of control, right, that we start seeing our health deteriorate in many ways. You know, like look at all the diseases that start with inflammation of, right? And so we can reduce inflammation with the proper diet, right? With essential oils that support easy movement, right? With protocols for rest and managing stress, right? When our stress is through the roof, so goes our inflammation, right? And same thing with not getting enough sleep. You know, you're going to have this very toxic chemistry in your body, right? And then that increases your toxic load. And so that can, all these things can increase our inflammatory response. So this is just a quick picture, right? So your mitochondria is how you produce energy in your body. And so it uses oxygen and food, right? The stuff that you eat, right? And the stuff that you breathe. And it brings it into this engine and it kind of metabolizes it. And it puts it out in the form of ATP, which is your energy. And it releases an exhaust, which is a free radical. So what exactly is a free radical? Well, it's an unstable molecule with one or more unpaired electrons. And we know it by the term oxidation, right? Did you ever cut an apple open and leave it on a counter? What happens? It turns brown. Well, that's oxidation. And so as we are exchanging oxygen into our cells and having, you know, this energy production, we are releasing these free radicals that create other things, right? And so we need antioxidants, which is a stable molecule with one or more electrons to share. And so the antioxidant kind of lends that extra that it has to the free radical and quiets it down. And now we have, you know, a manageable system, right? Oxidation creates that stress response. It creates that unhealthy inflammatory response. And by using antioxidants, we get that under control, right? And so where can you find antioxidants? Well, there's this supplement that has all of these plant-based, they're carotenoids, flavonoids, right? The same thing that we found in the willow bark tree, right? Alpha lipoic acid, coenzyme Q10, you know, vitamins and minerals that provide antioxidant protection, right? As well as essential oils are antioxidant protection. And so they put them all in this amazing supplement that I take every single day. And so when I do that, it gets my oxidation and the resulting inflammation under control. And so, you know, this has been a game changer for me. You know, I use essential oils topically all the time, but I also noticed a very big difference when I started taking this supplementation and just doing it every single day and giving my body the tools that it needed to create a terrain for healing. And so I invite you to consider doing this for yourself, right? This is, you know, a seminar that I'm doing for the benefit of Suffolk County employees. And if you're not yet using essential oils, I would love to give you a sample. I want you to experience what you can, you know, give you some maybe Deep Blue or some Copaiba, some of my favorites that really helped me. So I put it in the chat, right? You could click on this link and you could just fill out, you know, information so I know how to contact you and get your address and maybe figure out exactly what essential oils would be right for you. Or you could just text me. This is my cell phone number. This is my email address. Or you can find me on social media. Like I have classes like this all the time. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. I store the recordings of lots of different topics on my Vimeo channel. And so I invite you to learn a little bit more. Little by little, it becomes second nature to you, right? So this week, we have essential oils for family health, right? That'll be Saturday at noon. We have Thursday at 7, essential oils for mental health and sleep. I'm doing cellular health naturally. Right? This is a good one. If you really want to have a terrain for healing, this is the one for you. It's 3 p.m. on Friday, June 19th. And we also have, you know, I think the date on this one is wrong. Might be, yeah, because it was the following one. I think I just have the dates wrong here. But essential oils for immune support. But you can find all of these on my Eventbrite site. And, you know, I hope you get connected to our community. We learn from each other, and it's an amazing, amazing journey. So I invite you to join us.